Hello and welcome to CX Talks, how generative AI is actively transforming CX. My name is Melanie Mingas, Editor-in-Chief at CX Network, and I am joined today by Debasmita, the Manager for AI Research and Cyber Intelligence at Mastercard, and Laura Wronski, the Director of Research at SurveyMonkey. This month's hot topic is generative AI, the technology disrupting every industry and business function at present. And of course, CX is no exception. In fact, in our corner of the business world, AI-powered technologies have been driving chatbots, personalization, and interactive experiences for some years. Since the arrival of generative AI, those capabilities have only grown. In this edition of CX Talks, we are looking at how generative AI in particular can transform the customer experience. And crucially, we are going to unpick whether or not customers want it to. So to our speakers today, Debasmita and Laura, welcome to CX Talks.
Hi there, thank you.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited for this conversation. So to begin today, we are going to begin by looking at some research conducted earlier this year by SurveyMonkey. Now, they questioned 2,200 consumers on their attitudes towards artificial intelligence. And one of the key findings from that research is that customer attitudes are a little bit mixed. In fact, on the one hand, 90% of customers prefer human agents to chatbots because they can explain things better or provide more solutions. Others, however, prefer AI because of the always-on availability and access to more accurate information. Laura, first question goes to you. Tell us a little bit more about what this research found.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity to kind of share this research out and to get it in front of more people. The CX kind of industry and field and persona is really important to SurveyMonkey. So we try to publish reports like this on a regular basis to kind of keep people aware of industry trends and to really keep a finger on the pulse of what's driving changes in the CX industry. So for this study, we thought, what better topic to cover than AI? It's everywhere. And we know that it is affecting the CX industry, like you were just saying. The main finding that you kind of alluded to is that the vast majority of people in the US prefer humans to AI for customer service. They think that humans are better at understanding their needs, they provide more thorough explanations and more options, and they're less likely to frustrate them if they're dealing with kind of like a thorny CX experience there. And we just directly asked people. We had more than 2,000 people across the general population in the US respond to this survey, and we asked them, if the end result was the same, would you prefer interacting with a human or an AI customer service agent? 64% said they would strongly prefer a human. Just 2% said they would strongly prefer an AI, and a couple more in the middle. But for the majority of people, they lean very heavily towards preferring a human. 61% say they would prefer a human because a human would understand their needs better. 53% say they would prefer a human because a human would provide more thorough explanations. And then more say they would be less likely to frustrate me and they would give me more options to address my issues. So we have more kind of findings, but that's the main headline takeaway if you're working in CX is, these AI chatbots and all of the great advances that we have thus far, at least, people are still a little bit hesitant and resistant to see that take over their everyday CX experience.
Okay, interesting. So Debasmita, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this because you're an influential voice in this space and you also have first-hand experience of developing customer-facing solutions and tools. So drawing on that experience, how do real-world customers view the use of AI in CX and service?
So what I think is customers are prioritizing smooth and rewarding customer service experiences, making CX a significant factor in choosing whom to do business with. Customers expect not only timely, but seamless interaction with the businesses, but their perception of using AI in CX and service can vary and is so much influenced by factors such as their previous experiences, their comfort level with technology, etc., etc. These two being very, very important factors. Now, AI is increasingly being adopted to improve customer experience. Examples include chatbot for 24/7 services, recommendation engines for personalized product suggestions, and also augmented reality, like virtual dressing rooms. So as AI's capabilities are growing, its applications are also growing. And I believe in the near future, the acceptance from the larger masses will also increase.
Fingers crossed, yeah. I mean, you have a lot of experience with this. So tell us a little bit how organizations such as yours are starting to use generative AI and the impact that they expect it to have on that customer satisfaction and the metrics such as NPS or CSAT.
So generative AI is truly ushering in a new era of innovation. We are keenly exploring in capabilities across multiple divisions for a variety of use cases. One of the most promising applications is in enhanced fraud detections. So financial organizations can explore generative AI to detect potentially fraudulent activities with more efficiency, enabling their models to evolve and become more adept at identifying and preventing real-time fraudulent transactions. Now, as the organizations strengthen their security for the transaction process, they can anticipate a corresponding increase in customer trust, which in turn will positively impact their customer satisfaction matrices. Now, besides fraud detection, the capability of Gen AI can also be utilized to simulate for diverse economic scenarios, offering insights into potential market trends. Now, through this, financial organizations can not only predict better market movements, but can also fine-tune their strategies, ensuring that they remain at the forefront of their customer needs and expectations. Now, apart from this, generative AI also holds promise in personalizing the user experience. By analyzing a user's history and preferences, it can suggest financial products or services that aligns with their interests. Now, this level of personalization can lead to a more engaged and satisfied customer base. So I believe that the embrace of generative AI should not only just be a technological shift, but it should also be viewed as a renewed commitment to improve every facet of the customer's journey.
Indeed. I mean, sorry, go on, Laura.
I was going to say, if I can add on to that a little bit, I think that that's a strong vision for the future in terms of where AI is leading the CX industry. And so that was something that we tried to address in this survey, was what's the actual effect on something like a Net Promoter Score, an NPS, which is a pretty standard metric to measure the success of customer CSAT programs. And so we asked people in the survey directly to think about the last time you had a customer experience with a human versus the last time you had a customer experience with an AI chatbot, and to rate an NPS question for each of those experiences. And we found, I think, a 72-point difference in the NPS scores between the human interaction and the AI interaction, with the human interaction still thus far significantly outperforming the AI. So we had a human NPS score of 6, the AI score of -66. So for right now, I think that we are still not quite there yet in terms of getting to that point where, you know, a regular user is seeing all the benefits of generative AI being used for various CX interactions. But I think what Debasmita is pointing to is like a really optimistic future where we can include all these personalizations. You know, we can make this a better experience than what someone could get from a typical sort of, you know, customer experience interaction.
Yeah, that's a good point. So these NPS scores that you were citing there, what was the actual interaction that they were measuring?
For that, we asked people to think about, I think we provided a range of products that they might have purchased or experiences that they might have had. And we said, can you think about the last time you had this sort of an experience with a human? And then the same question for think about the last time you had this experience with AI. So we kind of tried to tease out some of the differences there.
Interesting. Yeah, I think Debasmita, the use cases that you've highlighted there specifically for the generative AI, particularly around the fraud detection, even the kind of simulating those economic outcomes there can be really, really useful in future. And I'd be really interested to know a little bit more about what your customers are saying about those solutions.
Yeah, so at this point of time, we are exploring and we are researching and trying to build out solutions using generative AI. And what we are seeing from the customer's response, and they are very much interested and looking forward to the impact that the generative AI solutions can give them in the near future while they start using it. But the pilots that we are doing internally are showing very, very promising results.
Excellent. I'll look forward to hearing more about that in due course. So if we move on to the next question, and this one goes to both of you. We've obviously talked about chatbots a lot, and they've existed for quite a while based on conversational AI, and they're certainly one of the most talked about applications in CX. And a lot of organizations are focused on making those chatbot experiences as human as possible for their customers. But this in itself opens a bit of a debate, because how easy is it to convince a customer that the agent they're interacting with is human? Should we tell customers that an interaction or an advert has been generated by artificial intelligence? And do either of you see a time when human and AI-powered content becomes indistinguishable? Let's talk about that humanization piece. Laura, to you first.
Yeah, I think I don't have an answer on the should. So maybe maybe Debasmita does on that, or can point to some other aspect of that. But I know from our survey results, we did ask people directly how confident they are that they can tell when they're interacting with an AI chatbot, and how confident they are that they can identify AI generated content. Both of these are applicable, to the CX industry specifically, but also just kind of like if you're out in the world and you see a Hollywood movie, is that a real actor or is it AI? If you're reading something, was it written by AI? Was it written by a human? We were kind of just curious to understand, do people actually make a distinguishment there? And the main finding that we have was that it really depends on some demographic characteristics, particularly age. So we see younger people much more confident that they're able to distinguish between AI generated content and human generated content, and much more confident that they know when they're interacting with an AI chatbot. And so I think the importance there is that we're creating all of this future for ourselves where AI plays a bigger and bigger role, and really we can't leave people out of that experience. So I think we have to make sure that we're designing technology and experiences that are able to service everyone. The younger people are the most excited about kind of our AI overlord future, but that does mean that older people are generally a lot more hesitant and kind of nervous about what that might mean. And so we have to kind of make sure that everyone is brought along as we kind of have these technological advancements.
Okay. Do you see a time when human and AI-powered content becomes indistinguishable?
My perspective is I think we're already using a lot of AI generated content that works its way into the product in different ways, but I'm not sure if Debasmita has a point of view on that.
Yeah, I also believe that we are almost close to it, or we are already there. It is becoming increasingly possible to convince customers that they are interacting with a human agent. For example, Google's 2 clicks ability to handle real-world tasks over the phone is a testament to how lifelike AI interactions can be. But again, referring to what Laura just said a few moments back, I will refer to one study done on the impact of AI on chatbot disclosure on customer purchase. It was published in 2019 by Marketing Science. And to quote their report, it shows that undisclosed chatbots are as effective as proficient workers, and sometimes 4 times more effective than inexperienced workers. However, when they are disclosing that when a disclosure of chatbot identity before the machine customer conversation is reducing the purchase rate by more than 79.7%. So what I feel is the primary ethical concern is revolving around transparency. And also there is a regulation. I think in 2018, California passed the Bolstering Online Transparency Act, which prohibits online bots from hiding their identities in order to appear like a human user. So customers do sometimes prefer AI interaction over human for their 24/7 availability, efficiency, consistency, their non-judgmental nature, and their ability to handle data-intensive tasks. Sometimes they don't want to share very, very personal information. But what I feel is while AI can simulate the human-like conversations, genuine human empathy and context awareness are still hard to replicate.
Very much. I think that's a fascinating point, Debasmita. What considerations do you make when it comes to that humanization part when customers are dealing with artificial intelligence? Do you build in those kind of empathetic prompts? Do you have, kind of maybe a way for your customers to go through to live service whenever they want, kind of a trapdoor situation? How do you build that human element into these automated interactions?
So I wouldn't be able to talk about like what exactly Mastercard is doing. If I can give what about the industry, like what the customers are feeling, like human interaction, what I feel is always the superior in handling complex or unpredictable situations that will require a personal touch. Like, for example, in global businesses, understanding local customer values will always be crucial. That is not something a AI chatbot can handle. It's always require a human touch. Also, like a human representative from a particular region will inherently understand the local culture so much better than a AI bot, which has to be trained for each and every region, which is very, very cumbersome to model. Now, also let's consider scenarios where a customer has had a very, very negative experience and they're frustrated or upset. There, a human customer service representative can de-escalate the situation. They can express genuine understanding in a way AI won't be able to do it. Also, if I talk about scenarios where the customer has to make very significant financial decisions, like will I take this mortgage or will I go for this retirement plan? So here customers often value the trust that comes with a human interaction. They appreciate a reassurance a person can offer. So in this scenarios, talking with a AI bot, which can give you so much of information, but it will still fail to give you a reassurance or an empathy that a person can provide.
It's really, really interesting. Well, we've kind of mentioned AI overlords already in this conversation, and we often hear about how workers are going to be replaced by them. But are there any parts of the experience or service journey where either of you think a human interaction will always be superior to one that's powered by technology, specifically AI?
Well, I can add on to what Debasmita just said in terms of there are specific tasks where a human is able to provide better advice than an AI. I think within the CX industry overall, so in our survey, we asked kind of about some typical scenarios that people might interact with an AI versus a human from different industries. So in medicine, in CX, in education, in financial services. And we did find that there was a lot more enthusiasm or willingness to engage with AI in these customer experience related tasks, like returning an item to a store or ordering food or drinks. Versus something like getting medical advice. There's a lot less kind of eagerness to interact with an AI in that situation. I think that ties in really well with what Debasmita was saying in terms of you want that trust that you've built up with your doctor, your healthcare provider, in order to make a big decision about your health. Or similarly, we asked how comfortable or uncomfortable would you be using an AI chatbot to decide how to invest your savings. Just 8% of people said they would be very comfortable with that. 41% said they would be very uncomfortable on the other hand. So again, I think that ties directly to Debasmita's point that that trust element that you can really only build up with another human being is really important for certain tasks, and definitely some tasks more than others.
Definitely, yeah. Debasmita, do you have anything to add on that point?
No, I think Laura covered everything.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about customer loyalty next, because obviously that's a goal for every organization. But for customers to be loyal, they first need to be satisfied. So we've spoken about the split in consumer attitudes, and that's very much real. We've also talked about how different elements of the customer journey are more suited to human and non-human interactions. But if this kind of split persists, what does that mean for the rollout of more AI-based tools and more tools that are even more intelligent than we have at present? Debasmita, I want to start with you for this one, because I think you've got some really interesting insights here.
So if you ask me, what I feel is obviously the number of AI tools are increasing, their capabilities are increasing. People are focusing so much on innovation, but the quality of customer experience will be paramount regardless whether it is delivered by AI or humans. What truly matters is the consistency and the excellence of the service that the organizations are providing. So what I believe is the collaborative effort between the AI and human teams should be used to harness the strength of the both to deliver more optimal solutions to enhance customer loyalty.
Okay. And Laura.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm learning so much from Debasmita and just, trying to think forward looking about how these kind of advancements are going to be made. I think what we learned from our study is that, again, we aren't there yet, right? So in general, people do have a lot of hesitancy around the debut of new AI tools. We asked, just in general, do you have a negative or positive sentiment when companies use AI as part of their customer experience? And more people had a negative sentiment than a positive sentiment around it. And again, there's lots of demographic differences around that, especially as you get older, you get a little bit more hesitant and negative in your feelings around the future being so AI focused. And then kind of to go back to the NPS data that I shared earlier, we still see higher NPS scores for human interactions than AI interactions at this point. I think what Debasmita has talked about on this call really demonstrates that there's a lot for us to look forward to on all of that. But I think we need to kind of bring people along as we go.
Do either of you have any insights on how that buy-in can be sought, particularly from old generations or the ones that just remain quite persistently cynical about such advanced technologies in CX?
Sorry, can you repeat the first? Do we have insights around?
Yeah, I mean, how can that trust be fostered? How can those people who are a little bit reluctant and hesitant to embrace these tools be kind of, brought along for the ride, if you will?
I mean, I can start with that, and then maybe Debasmita can point to some specific examples that that she might have awareness of. But again, it kind of based on these survey results, they just aren't having as easy of an experience when they're dealing with AI than when they deal with humans. So one thing that people pointed to when people do prefer AI over humans for customer service interactions is that they feel that AI addresses their issues faster. It provides more accurate information. It's just better at finding an answer that was right for me, and it understands my needs better. And then the flip side of that is, humans were able to provide more thorough explanations. They were less likely to frustrate me, and they were giving me more options to address my issues. So there's kind of some natural advantages that AI has that humans don't have, and some advantages that humans have. And thus far, at least according to our survey results, those findings make things still more stacked heavily in favor of humans. But I think, that will change.
Practice makes perfect. Yeah, it's just the catch-22 element of you need to use it more for it to get better, but people don't think it's good enough to use more at this point in time, specifically for those kind of high-risk, highly sensitive interactions that we mentioned earlier. Debasmita, what do you think needs to happen in terms of getting that customer trust where it needs to be to avoid that kind of split in consumer mentalities?
I think it's all comes down to the comfort level with the technology that I was talking about. And I think Laura previously also spoke about the differences that we see with the age group. And I also think that is so much valid. The Gen Zs, they are like having so less attention span. They just want things pretty quick. They just ask questions and they just want everything at the click of their phone. They just use their phone and just get everything there. But when we're talking about older generations, they will always prefer someone sitting with them and explaining stuff, and they will be asking 5 different questions before saying yes to something. They are so much, what do I say? So much not, they don't really want to make super risky decisions. Even they are making very simple decisions, they want to make sure there are no risk associated to it. I won't say that all the older generation people do that, but mostly that's what I see with my parents. They are like so much risk averse. They don't want to make any decisions until they have checked everything 5 to 10 times. So for them, it's a little difficult to start embracing AI right away, but we have a very big population of the young generations who are just ready to embrace AI and are already doing it.
Yeah. And I do believe that that's really, really crucial to its future adoption as well. Because as we see with all technologies, the older people get, the wiser they become, the more savvy they become around data protection, the quality of interactions, the things that they need to get. And I think that they become a lot less trusting as well, and a lot less willing to trade convenience for those other factors, which kind of leads me to believe that maybe in future, it will still be the younger generations that champion this technology, that prefer these kind of intelligent automated and technologically powered interactions, whereas the old generation will always just be that little bit more cautious, because that's the nature of just being a little bit older. I guess we're going to have to wait a good 20 or so years to find out how Gen Z kind of develops into its acceptance of generative AI moving forwards. But we are about to come up for time now, speakers. So closing comments from you both. Any final thoughts for our audience today? Laura?
Yeah, I think I'm just excited to see what the future brings for this. From our perspective, at SurveyMonkey, this is an important topic. We want to keep tracking this. And so hopefully next year we'll see, a real trend report on how opinions have shifted over, the course of time. And as there's more and more AI being brought into everyday life, I do expect we'll see opinions to change over time.
Debasmita?
So we have been doing so much of research around generative AI, trying to build really cool solutions using generative AI. So I'm also looking forward to how this solution would change the way people look at financial products and how they are embracing the new age financial solutions.
Fantastic. Well, Laura, Debasmita, huge thanks to both of you for sharing your time and your expertise today. And thank you also to the audience for watching. We'll catch you next month for another edition of CX Talks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.